Three, two, one, go. All
All
right,
right.
everybody. Welcome to Hardly Adults. I am Chris.
And I'm Michael.
We have a ton to talk about today. This is going to be kind of a good intro episode, just so you guys can get to know us, who we are, what we're about, and what you can expect in the future.
That way you can kind of avoid, oh my God, these guys are libertarian. We're against that, so I'm going to stop listening now. You're a pansy if you do, though.
You're a pansy.
So, number one, let's start out with why did we choose Hardly Adults?
I don't know, Mike. Why did you choose Hardly Adults?
I know, right? Well, from my perspective, I feel like I don't feel any different than I did when I was, 15,
Yeah.
10 years old. The only thing that I've gained
More
is
experience.
knowledge, experience. Yeah, that perfect example. So it's like, I don't know.
Definitely still childish.
Yeah, we're still childish in so many ways. Like, what is the definition of being an adult, really? There is no actual set definition. It's just up to interpretation. So, I mean, if somebody feels like, responsibility or whatnot, that's something that you just learn over time, but you still are the same person that you were when you were young.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I still enjoy doing 99% of the things I enjoyed doing when I was a kid, but now I guess I'm just smarter and
Yeah.
I've learned from my past experiences or mistakes or getting hurt.
Yeah, right. Well, and you might have these experiences that change your viewpoints on certain things, but you're still from that same basic mindset, and that goes just into how the human brain works.
Oh yeah, I used to be super like ultra conservative Republican on a lot of things, and now
Okay.
I have hardcore drifted to libertarianism, borderline anarchist.
See, and I'm still semi-conservative on particular issues, especially when it comes to like fiscal things. I mean, foreign policy somewhat. I kind of remain fairly conservative, though I'm more libertarian than what would be considered the standard conservative mindset. Because
Well, what's the standard and what are you?
the standard tends to be, well, like, look at all of our fingers dipped in every other country. We have so many bases and operations going on, and we're just meddling in so many other people's business. And the fact is we should be focusing on our own country. But I do believe that there are certain situations that we do need to intervene, like, making some of the policies that we're working on with North Korea and whatnot. That's as an example.
And that's where I think I would disagree with you, because I don't think we should worry about anybody else. We should not be in any other country. No exceptions unless there is a direct attack on the United States. And in that case, you bring out, the militia of the people and the National Guard and the military there. But we should not have 1,000 bases across the world, and we should not be in any other places. We should not support Israel. We should not support South Korea. The United Nations, the European Union, all of those are, we shouldn't be a part of any of it.
I would say, for the most part, I agree. But I mean, when you have particular direct threats, and that is a thing that's up to interpretation on its own.
Not even just a threat, though. I'm not talking about
I
a threat,
know.
because you can threaten somebody all day long, but that doesn't mean you're going to do anything. It
That's
just means
true.
you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
But
That's a good point.
if there's an actual direct attack, like if, for example, if North Korea actually launched a nuke on the United States, well, then by all means defend ourselves,
Yeah.
But if they're just saying they're going to, to me, that's not enough to go justify any type of intervention.
Well, and one of the things about that, actually, and I kind of agree with that in certain respects, because one of the things is like, oh, they're developing nuclear power or, nuclear defenses and stuff. Who are we to say that they can't develop those?
Exactly.
as opposed to we can but they can't, like
Yeah, we can, and England can, and Canada can.
that's
or,
that push for the one world
China.
government type shit.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
scary.
So who gives the United States the right to tell North Korea that they can't have nukes? Now, if they were to go and, like I said before, if they were to go and actually launch a nuke on us, I say go destroy every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if they want to develop nuclear weapons just for their own arsenal, I mean, we have them. Why can't
true.
they? Or for energy.
See, there's an interesting thing though as far as threats go. One of the things that China has, I believe it was China, is working on is they're getting AI so adept at finding the camouflaged submarines, all of our sonar detection. Their AI can actually now, they're working on and are getting it down to where they can pick out where those subs are and potentially sink them. Should we do anything? I mean, now you're stifling.
Is that not their right though to do
It
that?
is.
If we
I
developed
agree.
that same thing to seek out Russian subs or Chinese subs,
Somebody would want
would
to
they
intervene
have
too.
would they have a right though to tell us that we can't do that?
We
I
would
mean, the
say no, but
war in military is always evolving. I mean,
That's a good
obviously
point.
we're not we're not shooting cannonballs and muskets anymore. We're shooting. We got F-22s and tanks and nukes and
highly destructive weapons.
I mean,
but,
I think we have energy weapons at this point. I
Yeah.
think there's some out there,
Yeah.
like rail guns.
well,
You know,
have you ever seen the video of the railgun? Oh my god, we should look
shoots
that
down the drone out of the sky.
Well, there's that one, but no, there's this railgun that they had been testing, and it's a giant electromagnetic railgun. But the problem is it creates so much heat, it melts it apart after like one or two shots or something.
That's
But-
crazy.
oh yeah, no, it is so
like out of Star Wars.
insanely powerful. It reminds me of something from like Halo. They talk about like using electromagnetic railguns, or in the show The Expanse. Oh, so scientifically accurate in a lot of ways, but they use railguns in that, and they're the most destructive weapons in that show. It's insane how powerful those weapons can be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially with they're only using like a it's just like a solid titanium, some titanium alloy that is the shell, and it just it wrecks shit. It's pretty powerful, but that's like we could do a whole podcast on military technology too.
We should.
That would be interesting.
That would be a cool idea for a podcast.
Yeah, you guys should let us know if you're interested in hearing about some of the new military technology. I've got some crazy viewpoints on some interesting.
Did you ever watch that show that was on the Discovery Channel back in the day, Future Weapons?
Oh yeah,
And which
oh,
99% of that stuff is actually like used now, but back then I was looking, I was like, holy crap, that stuff's cool.
Like one of the ones was and it was like 2 AA-12 full automatic shotguns with massive belt-fed clips,
Oh,
and
dude.
it was a turret. So
That's
you
awesome.
it was mounted on like a Humvee, and you could just unload massive amounts of rounds and use incendiary rounds. Oh, it was crazy, the destructive force. But, just let us know at hardlyadultspodcast@gmail.com, or go to our Facebook at hardlyadults and comment, or let us know what kind of topics you want us to talk about, or let us know if there's some other military technology that we should mention. That would be brought up in the next podcast.
Another one of our, Mike, he has a nickname. It's Keto Mike, because health and fitness and keto is kind of his thing. It's what he does.
Oh,
and
It's crazy because all the time people are just calling me Keto Mike now. Everybody at work,
Keto
that is my
Mike?
nickname.
and at JATC,
Oh yeah, I know. It's
Everybody-
hilarious.
we play games, and his nickname on the screen is Keto.
It's crazy how big keto is becoming too, because I got into it right before, like, I don't know, a couple months before it started really taking off. And Thomas DeLauer, he was the one that I really was watching a lot in the beginning. One of the things that I like about Thomas DeLauer is he gives real statistics and lets you go and explore those studies on your own. So if you had, like, certain questions about the study or wanted to see how they performed the study to make sure that it's an actual like real study, you could double check their work kind of, and see it's not anecdotal or, reported. Oh yeah, I think I ate, 2,000 calories, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of studies like that. And one just came out about how, oh, if you eat 3 eggs a day or more, you
I
increase
saw
your
that,
death.
and Jenny and I both looked at each other. I was like, I call BS.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, I guess maybe if you eat 3 eggs a day, but you also keep eating like shit, the whole rest of the time. Yeah, it probably is not going to help you.
Exactly. Well, and that's one of the things about carbohydrates that's so, well, carbohydrates.
Okay, let's back up.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
You haven't even said what keto is. For the
So-
people that don't know,
Yeah.
ketogenic.
A ketogenic diet is when you cut carbohydrates so significantly that your liver takes on the role of producing ketone bodies from fat. Fat is converted into ketones as an energy source, which actually was, people say it was a supplemental energy source back in the day when you couldn't find carbohydrates. But that's not true, because if you look at evolution, if you look at the way that we're designed, and you look at the structure of plant material, we almost guaranteed we're actually eating almost exclusively meat. We're more of a carnivorous creature than an omnivorous. So plant material was probably more a supplemental, and it's a real easy uptake, but it does spike insulin, which can be inflammatory, but anabolic. So when you did get it, you would have a burst of energy to perform that next hunt, or actually have an opportunity to find your next fuel source that is probably going to be a keto based or even carnivorous based.
So Mike convinced me to start keto more than a few weeks ago. I looked into it when Mike was talking about it, and then I looked into it more, and then I asked Mike to help me start, and he basically just told me to start. He didn't really do much.
I know. Well,
he's there for answering questions, but the cool thing is I've been doing it for, I don't know, 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
I think 3 weeks, and I've lost almost 10 pounds and like 4 inches around my waist.
That's insane. And I knew that was going to be the case if I could get anybody to actually do it. Well, it was funny because he first asked me, well, can you help me do the ketogenic diet? And I was like, no, sorry, not going to do it. It just is not going to happen, because I've had people say that same thing to me multiple times, and I was instantly like, yeah, I'll help you out. And they acted like they were going to be all way into it. Within like a week and a half, they hit that keto flu, and they were like, I'm done. I can't do this. I don't want to do this.
The keto flu was brutal, though.
It is, and I knew it was gonna be. I mean, when you run off of a particular fuel source for so long, you're gonna have a little lag when your body's not used to making the other fuel source. Keto is, your other fuel source, the ketones, and you've never made them or made them in very low quantities. I mean, you're not probably gonna have a big easy, or just an easy time. You're not going to have an easy time switching to that.
Oh, but after I got through it, for me, it only lasted like 3 days.
Yeah.
And the third day wasn't even that bad. But it lasted about 3 days. And then once I got out of it, I felt like incredible. Like I had more energy than I've had since probably high school. It was crazy. And like I told Jenny, I was like, I don't know what to do with all this energy. Like I was so wound up. Like almost like I was like had a lot of caffeine, but like without the crash at the
Oh,
end or
yeah.
without the jitters or anything like that. And I was like, I got so much energy, I don't know what to do.
Hey, that was probably a part of what helped us get this podcast going, honestly. I mean,
Probably.
you were just so excited to.
I've been laid off and I had nothing to do and I had all this energy. I'm like, hey, we're gonna build a sound booth.
And it worked out so perfect, too. It's such a nice sound booth. I really am happy. And I'm glad that your buddy Brandon was willing to come in and help us, fine tune things. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a professional at the sound stuff, so he kind of helped us dial this in. I'm sure if you are listening, you may have saw our last little 10-minute announcement of the podcast, and the sound quality was fairly minimal, but definitely has
It was
progressed.
a test. It definitely was a test, and it's gonna keep getting better and better and better, especially if you guys keep supporting us
Yeah, that'll
and
allow
want to
us.
hear more. We're gonna want to keep doing it, and then we're gonna, invest in our equipment and our space. And
Oh
everything
yeah,
like that.
all of our money from if that we get from Patreon or whatnot, we are definitely going to be reinvesting it immediately into better location, better equipment. I mean, it would be nice to update the laptop at some point, and get one of those fancy ones where you have and then get programs. I mean, the real top of the line.
You're not a fan of Audacity.
You know, Audacity is good, but
It's
it
working.
is, and it works great, but it's one of the lower end programs
Right.
for this kind of thing, I mean, I guarantee if you go to the professionals, Joe Rogan Experience or something, and look at what they're using, they're probably
They all
not.
use Adobe software.
Yeah, I figure. I wonder if they do that just for the brand name or.
Well, it is the brand name when it comes to anything video, photo, sound,
I
anything
know.
like that. Adobe
Yeah.
is the go-to.
That's
I
what my
mean,
dad uses.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what
and
I
he's a
use.
professional
what-
photographer.
Yeah, same.
So-
Yeah, same here, and that's what I use: Photoshop,
Yeah.
Illustrator, Dreamweaver for
Yeah.
websites.
Dreamweaver was cool.
I forget the name. I think it's Audition.
Yeah.
What is Adobe Audition? That's what they use for sound editing and all kinds of good stuff.
Pretty cool. Definitely, if you guys support us, we'll definitely use all that money for updating all this stuff. And at some point, if we're getting a good enough following, we're going to start giving out some little prizes, get some t-shirts going, get some hats, things like that. Always a good addition to a really raunchy podcast. We'll have some funny ass shirts. I guarantee you that right now. So
And I want to give some out too. I want to do
Yeah.
some contests and stuff like that.
that's a good idea. So, all right. Next thing that we're gonna probably, is kind of a big point for us. We've already mentioned that, we're both pretty libertarian for the most part, as far as political views. Mentioned that I'm super big into health and fitness, and Chris is just
Very,
taken
very.
off on this. So,
Oh yeah, I am one of probably my number one big issue is gun rights.
oh yeah,
And 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 you know what? I don't care if people are offended too. C- there- People with this issue, people tend to react and think with their emotions rather than logic and facts,
oh yeah,
and that's what's irritating. But it's understandable though at the same time because it's human nature. When something bad happens, you're emotional and you want to do something about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is when there's a shooting and innocent people die, they blame the guns and they blame the access to guns and
I guarantee
instead
that's
of
what-
blaming the people.
I guarantee that's what they're gonna do with this New Zealand conflict.
Oh,
I mean,
New Zealand is already talking about pushing stricter gun laws, which is hard to believe.
well, especially since I believe, from what I've gathered, looking at the situation, it was guns that stopped the guy.
Yeah.
The guy ran as soon as they pulled out weapons. So.
Oh yeah, and
uh,
I watched the video because you sent it. The shooter he live streamed the whole thing, and I watched it, and it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, gruesome.
Yeah, and all those people were defenseless.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, it was a church, but
But-
still.
no matter what, one of those people would have had a gun in their vehicle and would have gotten to their vehicle. I mean,
Wasn't it a church, I think, down in Texas a couple of years ago where there was
Yeah.
a shooting and
the
there was
kid was the only one with the
well, no, there was
handgun.
a dude went and grabbed his rifle out of his truck
Oh,
or something like that. You remember
yes.
that? He had an AR in
Yes.
his truck.
Dude,
You know?
another one that's a perfect example is there was a group of there was some, I don't know if it was gang related but a group of people rolled up with some firearms and started firing at this guy's house, and he pulled out his AR-15 from his house and started shooting back at him. I think he shot one of them, and he might have killed like one or two of them, but he defended himself with that.
Good.
Which, funny enough, with the New Zealand thing, their gun laws are really strict in New Zealand. I believe you're not even like allowed to mention that your weapon is to be used for defense. And yet, funny enough, in in the second mosque, I believe they ended up having firearms to defend themselves. So,
And I went to the UPS store the other day because I had to mail Amazon return, and they have a little sign in there, and it says what you cannot deliver to certain parts of the country or to certain parts of the world, like different countries. And Australia and New Zealand, you're not even allowed to mail or sell in those countries toy guns like Nerf or Super Soakers or anything like that.
are you serious?
Totally serious. You can look it up too if you want, if you don't believe me.
Oh my God, that is just painful that they would be that strict about it.
Yeah,
trying to,
airsoft guns, things like that.
yeah.
Even with with the orange tip or whatever, you can't mail them.
Well, and the funny thing is oftentimes things like airsoft or paintball guns or things like that can be used to better train and help people understand the proper use of a firearm,
Oh yeah.
especially in a real situation. I mean, if you've ever watched some of the airsoft tournaments where it's like the highest level players,
Oh yeah, they're nuts.
they are like professional soldiers. So a lot of them use professional soldier tactics and study that
I
stuff.
think a lot of
to
them are
get better.
retired military too,
Oh,
probably.
I'm sure. I'm sure that would be a great getaway from doing your everyday things, and if it was something that you enjoyed or were good at, that might be a good way to get out, do exercise, things like that. So, I mean, there's really just a whole list of benefits to promoting gun use, but also promoting the safe use of guns by, using, toys, essentially. I mean, even with children, make sure to describe to them, with Nerf guns and stuff, never pointed it. In fact, when I was up in Kalispell this last week working, they have Nerf guns, and one of his big things is to not shoot it at people,
Oh yeah.
which is such a good practice, really.
Unless you're going around the house, having
You know,
Nerf wars or stuff, but
yeah.
there's a time and place.
Exactly. Well, that's what it is, And when you talk to kids about, oh my God, a real gun is way more dangerous than this. In most situations, you always,
Well,
watch where the barrel is pointed.
Teach
things
them the
like that.
basic safety rules.
Yeah.
Keep your finger off the trigger, keep it pointed in a safe direction. Don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And you realize what's behind what you're shooting.
Yeah.
It's basic stuff that any 4-year-old can understand. I mean, Connor, he started learning that stuff super early. I made sure of it.
Good man. Well, I mean, and when you start out with toys where it's not a risk, there is no risk if they do mess up, which, obviously children can and stuff.
Sure.
That's one of the great things about, using these safe methods like airsoft or paintball or Nerf or any of those.
This is going to be I want to turn this whole topic into a full episode too.
This is
one of
going to
these
be
days.
multiple, honestly.
Yeah, gun rights. I can talk about this for hours and hours.
I mean, you already have like all your lobbyist stuff, or even the some of those videos that you posted to your old YouTube page.
That was my friend's YouTube page.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Mike. He runs a YouTube page called Laughing at Liberals, and he went through a lot of couple of years ago. To make a living, he goes out and films events and sells them to news sites.
Yeah.
And he went and filmed a protest in downtown Portland, and a group of people came at him and they had flag staffs and poles and all kinds of different weapons, and he drew his gun on him. His finger never went on the trigger. He didn't point it at anybody who was not attacking him, and as soon as the threat was dissipated, it immediately was reholstered. But he ended up getting arrested and charged with several crimes. And I mean, part of that is because it's in Multnomah County. It's Portland.
I know. Well, I mean, I believe that it's a thing in Portland, and I know in multiple other states that you are not allowed to defend yourself if someone does not actually harm you in your home.
Here's the thing, though, that Portland, I believe, does have the castle doctrine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can defend your home.
Yeah, you do not have a right to, or you do not have a duty to retreat.
And that's something that we have to look up. But I know in multiple other states they do require you. You cannot defend yourself in your own home.
There are some states that if somebody breaks into your house and you shoot them, they can sue you.
Which, how ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
They're breaking in. Even if they have you held at gunpoint, you're not allowed to shoot back. You're not allowed to harm them. Wow. How is that even possible?
One thing Mike and I want to try to do with this podcast is get other people involved. And, Mike and I, we agree on a lot of things, but, sometimes we try to play devil's advocate and give the other side a chance in the debate. So if you're listening to it and you have different viewpoints or you disagree, feel free to email us and we will definitely bring it up. And, don't come at it anonymously, though. Don't be afraid of your viewpoint. Just I'll say so and so wrote in, said this, and then we'll respond.
Especially when we start doing live streaming.
Definitely.
I mean, that'll be a great way to keep the ball rolling and really hit topics that may get missed in a certain situation where it's like an important viewpoint that should be brought up.
So this is our big intro episode, and our next episode is going to be our first full-length 1-hour episode, and it's going to be on a really, really cool topic.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be a two-parter.
Oh yeah, the technological singularity.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Mike brought up, and it's a really, really interesting crazy concept, but I think you guys will enjoy it.
Yeah, what a subject of discussion. I mean,
oh yeah, because it's all theory too. Also.
It is. Yeah, everything
it's also proven,
on
though.
this. Yeah.
So
well, I mean, it follows so many lines of. There's so much evidence that points to some sort of technological singularity when you look at the way that technology has advanced in the past. Over time, things happen. And they grow at an exponential rate. One of the things that was brought up, I'll have to find that video and we could post it to Facebook where the guy describes the technological singularity. But one of the things that he mentions in there is the advancements of computer circuit boards, like the way that they're
constructed.
They're constructed. Yeah, they started out with like. Oh man, and now I'm gonna have a hard time remembering exactly all about it because I've haven't watched that video in a while. But it was that they started out with, I believe it was the transistors. It was like 2 transistors, way back in I don't know the 60s or something, and then a few years later, 10 years later, they had like quadrupled it.
Oh yeah, and now it's. What?
20 years later, it was like 1,000 times, and now it's like they're to like multiple trillions of connections. It's insane how quickly that it exploded. And basically the idea behind it is that at some point, technology, especially with the invention of AI, technology will make massive breakthroughs so fast that it almost seems at one point in time
That's
all
awesome, but
these.
terrifying at the same time.
Oh God, I know. Well, one of the things that makes me excited about it is all that medical side
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
people are gonna be able to live forever.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things that they're saying is they believe that within 12 years and with the help of AI, quantum computing, that we will be able to extend human life by such and such number of years. Within 12 years, that will happen. We'll be able to extend the human lifespan by a particular number, and within the next, say if we extended human lifespan by 20 years, within the next 10 years, we'll be able to extend the human life by another 20 years or 40 years.
Well, you think
And
once
then
they
it
get
compounds.
once they get 3D printing, down more efficiently,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're going to be 3D
Organs.
printing organs and stuff. But let's save this for the actual episode.
I know.
Um,
I just want to talk about it all.
No, another episode or another topic we're going to talk about in the future episodes are. We're going to dive into religion. We're going to get into a lot of different religions and how they play a role in everything, really,
yeah.
and how they
The development of society.
Well, some people think
now.
they help. Some people think they help society. Some people say they
Hindered us.
And there's evidence to both, really.
Oh yeah. Even Family Guy mentions that. Oh, okay. So we went to this in one of the episodes. Stewie takes them with his. He has this device that allows them to travel between different dimensions, and one of the dimensions was a dimension where religion never existed, and the universe is like 30,000 years more advanced, and it's.
Well.
But there's also other sides to it when you look at the way that human evolution happened, that it wouldn't have occurred in the same way. We wouldn't have had people working together under one mentality to actually bring together societies without religion. It wouldn't work without religion. So, and both make a strong case. So it's really going to be a long podcast for that one.
I tend to lean on the side
No religion.
where it hindered definitely more than it helped. But
there's a good one for a Devil's Advocate podcast.
Yeah.
I could argue against it, and you could argue for it.
For religion?
No, I'll argue for religion, and you'll argue against it.
Yeah, we could try.
That would be
Yeah,
an
that
interesting
would be
one
fun.
because, when you look at evolution, there are some strong signifiers that, humans would not have worked together without having that.
It's true, though.
So, it's kind of a possible debate there. It's interesting. Yeah, good one.
That'll be a good episode.
One that somebody actually asked us to cover, a podcast topic that was requested.
It was my mother.
That's kind of funny. She makes a good point, though. It would be an interesting topic, a conversation, and probably a long podcast as to social implications. But would be the transgender or gender confusion situation in the world.
Let's see how many
as of
people we
now.
can offend.
Ooh, this is going to be an offensive one. Honestly, there's just so much to it. I actually, because she had brought that up, I was like, I wonder what the history of transgender in the human race was, and started looking into it. And it's
The
actually been
history
around
is
for a long time.
Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner. He was the...
He was ground zero.
Well, it's funny because there was a lot of societies in past who had, like in India, they had like a third caste of society that was people who were transgender or gender confused, and it was oftentimes men who ended up feeling more feminine, and they were often treated as a third class of citizens.
Do you feel
below
feminine, Mike?
women and stuff? Oh no! Oh my god! Not on my carnivore diet.
right.
Maybe if I was a sissy.
You're like, hold on, I need to go eat more meat.
Meat. I need to be manly. Oh.
Hold on, I'm feeling feminine. Give me some bacon.
That's oh my god. So that could be
That's
definitely a long podcast, especially if we
That could
dive
also-
into history.
Oh, yeah.
And
we should though,
well,
definitely.
even the Greeks had everybody always talks about going Greek or whatever about homosexuality and stuff, but there was also a lot of transgender stuff with that. So people playing the roles of feminine roles, and there was even like a
What about
society.
animals though? Non-evolutionary evolved creatures.
So I
Plus,
cannot.
I've heard
remember the
arguments made though.
specifics.
I've heard
Yeah.
arguments made though. Oh, the animals are gay. I was like, animals
There's-
will hump anything.
Yes, that is kind of a good point. That dog comes up and starts humping the couch or something.
Yeah.
Ooh, that couch identifies as a female dog.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So anyway, we're gonna wrap this episode up. This is a good intro episode. Stay tuned for the next episode. We are gonna get into some really, really cool stuff that we mentioned before. Please follow us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/hardlyadults or @hardlyadults. We're also gonna be on YouTube, and you can email us at hardlyadultspodcast@gmail.com. Give us your ideas, your topics, your arguments. If you disagree with something we say, let us know, and we will talk about it on the show also. So I guess we'll see you next episode, Mike.
In conclusion, well,
Later,
out, guys.
everybody.